Hello there. What is going on? It's Wookiee time. We are going to be building a Wookiee Battleforce in Star Wars Legion. We're going to be using Tabletop Admiral today, and I'm going to talk about this list a little bit and share some of my excitement with all of you because I'm very excited to get some more Wookiees added to the collection. How many Wookiees do you guys have is like one of my first questions, because it was the first question I had to ask myself when AMG gave us this new Battleforce at Mini Stravaganza. It was a little unexpected and a very welcome surprise, and I'm overwhelmed trying to think of how much fun I'm going to be able to have with these Wookiees, because it's a very, very cool situation we've got ahead of us. So if you guys are new here to the channel, we do all kinds of giveaways. We talk a lot about Star Wars tabletop games. We're doing a giveaway that's running through Halloween. It's for a $100 Amazon gift card. You can put that towards an expansion or two of your choice. And all you have to do to enter to win that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. It is running through Halloween, so you have plenty of time left to enter to win that. And I'll usually, at some point right after Halloween, I'll be announcing the winner. I usually do that towards the end of my videos. So when you watch, I encourage you to watch all the way to the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to queue up battle forces, and we're going to make sure we're doing Wookie Defenders here. This is going to change our available list, and these Wookiees have some cool stuff. They have some cool things going on for them. So just for reference, right? We've got the battle force document. Your first off, your Wookiees. That's very cool. Your Wookiees get, the first time a Wookiee trooper is defeated, they get to do a speed 1 move, which is always a fun thing to do. You have to have at least 3 Wookiees, or Wookiee trooper units, which all Wookiees are trooper units right now, but maybe someday they won't. Who knows? And you also get to count your noble fighter Wookiee warriors as core. They won't be core units, but they will count as core units for purposes of list building and also for battle cards. This is going to come into a very important distinction when we get to the battle cards, because I think there's a really cool interaction that we can work on with this list. So this is why I like to talk about the list builds. It's not just the units that we're putting in here. Now you can do basically, I think there's kind of 2 ways to approach a Wookiee Battleforce. You can approach it from the standpoint of, hey, I want to do like a Kashyyyk episode 3, like I wanted the clones and the Wookiees together. You can use certain clones and Yoda and kind of go with what's in that Battleforce already, or what was kind of on screen during episode 3 for the most part. That's okay. I don't think that's really the way to approach this, because if you're going to put clones in here, then you get a whole lot less out of this Wookiee Battleforce. It's not as significant. It becomes a very, very tiny boost for the restriction of that you're getting, like, hey, I have to use at least 3 Wookiees, and I have to not use other cool things, like I can't use Obi-Wan Kenobi if I wanted to, or whatever, right? So if you're gonna have the restrictions, you might as well get the benefit and maximize that benefit. So I think the best way to run this is run all Wookiees, and that's what we're gonna do today. Or at least all thematic Wookiees. We are going to run Rada Nasp will be featured in this list as well. So I'm going to start with that. Now we have 2 different Rada Nasps. This is that Wookiee Fluttercraft. We have the basic Rada Nasp, and we have the new Rada Nasp Attack Craft. It's virtually the same thing, but there is a slight difference. So one of the differences is that it costs 2 more points for the Attack Craft. The other difference is that it has this attack run keyword that is going to allow it to change its speed by 1 each round. So it can be a speed 3, speed 2, or a speed 1. It may. So you can basically pick whatever speed you want to be when you are going. Now, why is that particularly important? Well, we're going to add this in here because it's kind of like made to work with the Bombardiers. Now, it can work with this NASP gunner as well. If you're trying to line up your rear on someone, it might be nice to be able to adjust your speed so you can kind of get that shot a little bit easier. I feel like that's kind of a cool thing. Definitely see the NASP gunner as being a possibility, but I think that the speed is really there to facilitate the overrun attacks in the Bombardier. So we're going to run the Bombardier with these overrun attacks. It's a cool situation. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun to run these guys. And so we're going to run this in here. We're going to run a lot of other Wookiees also. And I'm only going to run a single Rata Nasp in this particular build. But I think there's tons of different ways to, well, maybe not tons, but there's at least several different kind of basic approaches. You could go with, more Fluttercraft and less Wookiees. You could go with like maybe both commanders. You could really maybe go with just one commander and really maximize your Wookiees. And I think a lot of it depends on how many Wookiee expansions you have. I currently have 4. I'm getting ready to buy a 5th one, and that's what's going to go into this particular build. So this build is assuming you've got 5 Wookiees. 5 Wookiee Warriors expansions, whether they be a combination of the old and the new or something like that. You can make that work. So, so let's start off by putting my 3 Wookiee, the Noble Fighters. All right, so the Noble Fighters are going to be the ones that will be able to count as our core. So I'm going to put 3 of those in there. Now, I happen to have 3 Wookiee Warrior Noble Fighters that were the original, our sort of original Wookiees. They've been slightly changed a little bit. They used to just be the Wookiee Warriors. These guys, the Rebel ones that I've got. We've got the other cards for them, but basically I've got a lot of these guys, and I used to always run them with the bowcaster. It was an interesting kind of heavy weapon for them. That's how I always used to run them. It's kind of the way most people used to run them a long time ago, before the reprint and the kind of reissued Wookiees and the revamped Wookiees came out. Because the bowcaster didn't really synchronize perfectly well with these guys. He had longer range than them, and they have charge. But so he is like, well, do I want to be? I kind of want to be shooting ranged, but if I'm really going to maximize, I kind of need to take advantage of charge with this unit, and it's this kind of weird. Because I don't want to shoot first and then charge into melee, because then I won't be able to do a second attack on my turn and all this weird stuff. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the battle shield on these guys. This one works a lot nicer. The battle shield is one of the newer upgrades that come in the new dual faction Wookiee pack. It's 26 points. You're getting a 2 red die attack, and you can also have armor if you flip this around a little bit. So it's just a good overall card to have, and it synergizes really well with what these Wookiees are already trying to do. And so I like it. I like it a lot. We're gonna put a couple of things on these guys. I definitely want tenacity on these guys all the time. Tenacity is just an amazing upgrade. I think your Wookiees they kind of want it a lot. I mean, they've got a lot of hit points. They're going to get shot, and they're going to get at least a wound on them. They got white defense dice and no surge. They're just going to suck up damage. So make sure that at least with even one Wookiee left, you're still rolling at least 3 dice with that surge to hit at least in there, which is pretty cool. But I'm also going to put, and this might be, you might disagree on this one a little bit. I'm going to put Into the Fray on here. I know a lot of people like to run offensive push. I'm going to put Into the Fray on these guys, and the idea, and I'm going to run 2 that are built like this. So I'm going to hit the +1 there. That's going to give us a 2. Now the idea here is that these guys are trying to get in close to melee. They've got the shields, they can have armor. Into the Fray is going to give them surge tokens, and that's probably going to save some lives. So they're going to be doing some punching. Maybe I can tie somebody up if they activate and then withdraw. I still get a surge token, and everybody that surges, or that activates gives me more surge tokens. I'm going to need those for defense. I'm probably going to get shot a lot, especially if these guys are leading the charge. Now I do need 3 core, so I'm going to add another Wookiee Warrior Noble Fighters. These guys are not going to have any upgrades. They're just going to kind of fill that 3rd core spot, and they can be my objective dudes. They're just going to be 3 Wookiees on the field. They can do whatever. They can be kind of a flex, but they're fulfilling that requirement. This gives me, 2 heavy core and 1 lighter core, and so that's kind of where we're going there. I'm going to add 2 more, but I'm going to go with Kashyyyk Defenders at this point. Now, our Kashyyyk Defenders I'm going to give them a slight differences. So I'm going to start off, right, the Kashyyyk Defenders have range 3. So they want to be your shooters. They're not going to be going in to charge. They're not going to be going into melee. They have a decent little melee. They still have 2 dice per, so they can totally melee. They're still fearsome. But they have Sharpshooter and range 3 and Search to Hit, right? Well, the other Wookiees have it too. They definitely want to be shooting. We only have 1 training upgrade on these guys. So for our Kashyyyk Defenders, I'm going to give them offensive push. They're more likely to actually need those aims. They're more likely to need to do all of that good stuff. I'm also going to give them targeting scopes. They'll aim and shoot a lot, but they'll move in, get a free aim, and then shoot, and then next turn maybe they'll aim and shoot again. Targeting scopes is going to work well. If they roll on white dice, okay, you need as many rerolls as you can get. So that's what I'm putting on them. And I'm going to duplicate this, but I'm going to make one of them have a long gun Wookiee. So now I've got 1 unit here that has the long gun. This is going to be my longer range option. And the long gun Wookiee, the long gun Wookiee is also only 26 points, right? That's pretty cool. That is cool. And then for our other Kashyyyk Defender, we're going to add the Bowcaster. I love the Bowcaster Wookiee. And honestly, I went through a lot of different iterations of running this, and I think it's viable to run 5 Wookiees and give each one of them the Bowcaster regardless. It's just a really good attack. Impact 1 and Pierce 1, and you're getting a red die and a white die, and you're getting range 3 on it. Oh, it's good. I love it. It's one of my favorite heavies in the game. Because it's also a 3 health miniature, too, that you're adding. So you're getting 3 health worth of a miniature for, it's 31 points. I mean, originally 35. It's currently 31. It's not cheap, but not that much more expensive, so it definitely works. But for this one, this build is going to come out to exactly 800 points. So, it's you got to kind of, if I wanted to run more Bowcaster Wookiees, I'd have to drop certain other upgrades. And I'm like, I can definitely make the long gun Wookiee work. They each add different things. I will be a little light on my ranged impact this way, but it's okay. It's okay. We still have commanders to add. So in this case, I'm going to go with both the Wookiee Chieftain and Chewbacca. So we're going to add both. And it's tough because they're so close on their points. Chewbacca has the better melee, arguably. You're getting, it's at least the more reliable melee. You're getting lethal 1 in there. You're getting all red dice, so you have a really good chance of making sure. Plus Search to Hit, so you're probably gonna get your hits in. He can also gain charge once he starts taking wounds with Guardian 2, but it's only for a commander, so he's gonna help the Wookiee Chieftain out. And hey, maybe people won't want to shoot the Wookiee Chieftain because that might end up enraging Chewbacca and making him more dangerous. Sure, no problem. Well, who else are you gonna shoot? Probably not those Kashyyyk Defenders. They're gonna be farther back. Probably be shooting the noble fighters, my melee Wookiees, and they've got tenacity, so they kind of want to get shot. So it's just pick your poison. So I kind of like the vibe going on here. Let's start with our Wookiee Chieftain. We don't have too many upgrades to put on these, but we'll do a couple. We're going to give him the awesome upgrade here of Aggressive Tactics. Aggressive Tactics, it suits Wookiees. They can definitely get aggressive, and it's going to work well here because as he's issuing those orders, he happens to have Search for defense, but you're not going to be seeing that on most of your other Wookiees. So I think that is going to work out defensively. Again, people aren't going to want to attack him anyway, so he can issue some orders to Wookiees and give them defensive surge, which is always a nice little thing. It is an expensive upgrade, though, so I can understand if maybe you don't want to go for it, but I still like it. I think you're going to probably roll at least 1 white surge or 1 or 2, when you're defending. It's going to save some wounds for sure. And I'm also going to put tenacity on him. Again, I want tenacity on my Wookiees. He's got 6 dice melee. 6 dice in melee. Doesn't have the Pierce on there, but he can if he, triggers Duelist. He's also got Charge, which is also really cool. So, it looks great. Let's add an extra red die to it. Make it a 7 die melee attack. I'm all for it. If he goes up against Jedi, well, they're immune to Pierce anyway, so you don't have to worry about the aim for that. You just try and get as many natural hits in you can, and then hope your opponent has a bad defensive roll. So that's pretty good. Now, if we go to Chewbacca, we are going to also give him tenacity. Look, again, tenacity is just really good on Wookiees. All about it. Let's keep it going. By the way, let's look at the ranged attacks on these guys. We got 4 dice on the bowcaster that the Wookiee Chieftain has. That's not bad. Impact 1, Pierce 1, 2. We have a decent, kind of small, but a decent amount of impact for ranged. But we've got on the melee also. Chewbacca's bowcaster is, we got it on the Chewie's bowcaster as well. Critical 1 and impact 1 and Pierce 1. This is a bowcaster that you want to be shooting. It's good all the time, everywhere. It's beautiful. So I like that. And Chewie gets 2 search tokens automatically, so you don't have to issue Chewie those orders. You really want to give those to your Kashyyyk noble fighters. Your Wookiee warriors probably want those orders most, so that they can get those free tokens from aggressive tactics. Chewbacca is also going to have offensive push. It's just an overall good option to have, and especially since he's rolling white dice with that bowcaster. When he got to take that shot, that's a good time to use it. All right, so that brings us to 800 points. We've got 8 activations, which is not bad for very expensive units. And it's just so nice to not have to put clones in here, so I love it. Let's jump down a little bit to our commands. But before I do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. Folks, have you seen these tokens? They're absolutely amazing. I use them in all of my games. If you've seen my last battle report, they're all over the place. They're gorgeous, and it's hard to miss them because they're they shine. They've got sparkly bits in them. They're double-sided. They're gorgeous. You're gonna love these tokens, folks. They really make your game shine. So head over to luxuryplaystyle.com, check out some of their Legion compatible tokens, as well as the other tokens compatible with other games like X-Wing or Magic the Gathering and lots more. Use code Crabbok VIP while you're there. You're going to save 15%, and orders that use that code are going to get the spend at least $35 or more are going to get the Crabbok token, the little lightsaber nunchuck token. You can use it to count damage. You can use it to mark new commander, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So head over to luxuryplaystyle.com, check them out. All right, so we're going to go into commands now. This is my only complaint with this battle force, is that it needs a little more. It needs another named character. It needs a Chrysanthemum or Tarful or something like that. And I know that when I've talked about it, people are like, well, wasn't the Wookiee Chieftain supposed to be modeled after Tarful? Well, maybe it was, but it's not. It's not Tarful. He's a specifically like that was. They changed that name. They made him Wookiee Chieftain, and they made him not Tarful for a reason. It was no accident that his name is Wookiee Chieftain. So I feel like I really need Tarful to show up at some point, because you have no choices for command cards here. You have no choices. You have to go with assault. You have to go with push, and you have to go with ambush. And then you have to go with those 3 Wookiee cards. None of them are commander specific. Yeah, you do have one option for Chewbacca. You do, but that only works if you bring Yoda. And if you bring Yoda, you're running Yoda's command card. So then it negates this entire section. I mean, you're probably just running Yoda's command cards over and over and over again. And that's usually what happens when I end up running Yoda. It's just like Yoda, 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 Yoda. So, and then that's not really a Wookiee list. So if you're running a Wookiee list, there's really no choice. All these other cards you kind of can't use. I mean, maybe you could do synchronized offense. I don't know. But there's not a whole lot of choice. So we got to go with we've got to go with more, and we've got to go with we've got to go with those. That's the correct pronunciation from what I understand. Because like Attack of the Clones doesn't do anything. Discretion, like all of the Merc cards don't do anything. By the way, that's another reason why it'd be nice to get like a Chrysanthemum as a Merc who can also go in this battle force. It would maybe give some extra reason to possibly consider using like a Merc card or something like that. I don't know. It's an idea. Air support doesn't work. You don't have any field commanders. You don't have any you know, clone trooper commanders. You can put. Actually, you really can't even get. I mean, you could do it. You'd have to put somebody in here as a commander and then let them die, and then also have a clone that takes over or something like that. But again, that's only if you're, you know, running clones in a Wookiee Battleforce. And like I've said at the beginning of the video, I think all Wookiees is kind of the way to go here. At least my preferred way to go. But we go into battle plans, and this is where things sort of get interesting, because I think, let's just jump to the one that I think is most interesting, and that's going to be hostage exchange. Each player chooses a core unit they control. You don't control any core units, but you do, for purposes of this card. Now, if we go back to the document, right? Let's bring it up. The following units count as core for purposes of army building and battle cards. So those noble fighters do count as core for purposes of hostage exchange. Okay. So now instead of having like a core unit that's easily killed, you know, at risk maybe in the middle of the battlefield, all of a sudden I've got some Wookiees, you know, battle shield Wookiees in the middle of the battlefield that then they struggle for movement. All of a sudden they're right there in the middle of the battlefield, and they're gonna just, you know, they could start wrecking face. Could be really fun. I just think that's so cool. A huge risk to take, to be offensive with your unit that really needs to get defensive. And of course, it depends on the other unit. If your opponent's running Jedi and things like that, then that's also, you know, like, hey, you might force push and push me back and things like that. So there's risks there, but I just think it's a fun one to do. And being able to kind of flip the script and be like, oh, that core unit's actually a really deadly and high hit point Wookiee unit now. Super cool. So I like that one. We'll do payload in here. I think I always like payload when I have really tough units that are like, yeah, I know where you have to come this way, and I'm ready to just charge in and start wrecking things. And this means you're probably going to keep some of your units closer together too, and that also means that the Radonas Fluttercraft might have a better chance of flying through and getting that overrun attack on you guys who are trying to escort the payload. I think intercept transmissions works here as well, and then key positions I put down. For our deployments, I went with battle lines. I liked that one. I always like that one. Advanced positions. You know, scout can be really nice for all those Wookiees. I went with disarray because I can kind of put all the Wookiees together in one place, and I can just do the Fluttercraft in the other one. And he can jump to speed 3 and then catch back up, and then hopefully I've split my opponents up a little bit. And then I went with major offensive as the last one. It's honestly, it's kind of safe, and it's kind of easy to play on. There's certain ones I don't like using. Like, I don't usually like Long March, even though I just accidentally clicked it and put it in, just because it's harder to play like long ways across the table, and you're reaching across all over the place. I know, not super crazy about that one. But that's more of my laziness than actually tactical reasons. But hey, that counts too. You got to have the endurance to keep playing the game, especially if you're going to play multiple games, like if you're going to a tournament, which can get exhausting over a while. You know, you're on your feet like all day long, stressing about stuff, reaching. Most people who play, you know, multiple games of Legion in a row end up kind of little whooped, or at least from my experience. I know I do. And for conditions, we're going to go with a hostile environment. It's pretty cool here, right? I think I went with a couple of these that are dealing with suppression because the Wookiees have such a cool ability. Indomitable it's just a great way to take advantage of Indomitable, right? When you're rallying, you use red dice. That's like, how much are you really ever going to panic? And then if Chewbacca ends up getting enraged, then that's even cooler. So yeah, hostile environment works really good for that. War weary also works with that. So I'm gonna put war weary in there. Rapid reinforcements works with that whole concept I was talking about earlier with hostage exchange. Have a couple of, we put two core units and mark them. It's gonna be super cool. well, you don't have to. I mean, there won't be core units as far as this. This doesn't care what their rank is. They just can't be operatives or commanders. But this is a great opportunity to get two Wookiees that are going to be able to deploy real close. And I'm going with fortified positions as the other one. Look, Wookiees have a lot of HP, but they do lack defensive surge and defensive dice. Best way to help keep them alive is make sure they have heavy cover as often as possible. They want to charge anyway. They got scale and all this other stuff, so they're going to be really benefiting from these barricades. And so I think that's it's a good option here. Even better option if you end up going with Yoda and have force lift and you're getting to throw barricades all over the place and do funny things with them. And that's going to be the list, everybody. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. I will put a link to this list in the video description below. Hopefully you guys are putting some fun lists together. Let me know if you guys are playing Legion this weekend, next weekend, and what kind of lists you guys are putting together, or what other games you're playing. I'd love to keep that discussion going. Make sure you guys join our Discord, and I'd love to chat some more with you guys there. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. Thank you for your continued support, and I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.